Good morning. Welcome to our 2022 Fall Talent Series. Our conversation today is ESG and your business. We have two wonderful speakers, and we're super excited to have them here today. We are going to start with a little promotion for our sponsor. iHeartMedia is proud to be a part of the Fort Collins business community and a sponsor of this session of the Talent Series. iHeartMedia is home to 8 Northern Colorado radio stations, including 96.1 KISS FM, Big 97.9, 107.9 KBPI, and 600 AM KCOL, along with digital media partnerships to help drive consumers to your local business through streaming, mobile display ads, podcasting, and much more. Thank you to iHeartMedia for their sponsorship. Starting our ESG conversation today is Grace Wright. Grace Hanley Wright is the Sustainability Initiative Specialist for the Colorado State University College of Business and also teaches in the Impact MBA. As a Sustainability Initiative Specialist, Grace focuses on co-creating, managing, and executing the college's sustainability initiatives, which span research, curriculum, and engagement. The Sustainability Initiative Specialist is a key member of the college's leadership team, helping to drive progress toward business for a better world. She is also an appointed member of the President's Sustainability Commission. In the Impact MBA, Grace teaches social and sustainability venturing, summer practicum, and corporate sustainability fellowship. She also manages the pollution prevention fellowships as a part of a partnership and grant with the EPA and Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. Grace has been recognized as a CSU Best Teacher in 2017, Colorado Woman of Influence in 2010, and a Northern Colorado Superwoman in 2016. So welcome, Grace. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you also to Shelley Polansky. We have a wonderful duo doing our ESG conversation today, and Shelley is with the Better Business Bureau. Shelley Polansky joined the Better Business Bureau serving Northern Colorado in 2008. Prior to becoming the president and CEO in 2019, she held a variety of roles in the organization, including operations, outreach, and marketing. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from Nebraska Wesleyan University and is a 2017 graduate of Leadership Loveland. She was also a recipient of BizWest 40 Under 40 Award in 2018. Shelley and her husband reside in Windsor with their 2 daughters, Riley and Morgan. In her spare time, she enjoys cooking, gardening, hiking, fly fishing, and camping. So welcome both to Grace and Shelley Polansky. And at this point, we're going to start with Grace.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share about our ESG work and what local businesses can do to start on their ESG journey or continue on it. So I'm going to share my screen. Does that look all right to you?
It sure does. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, yeah. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. As you said, I'm Grace Wright, and I work for the Colorado State University College of Business. Something I'm really proud of working at CSU is that CSU is one of the world's greenest institutions for education. And we are recognized over and over in different ways for this, including on our STARS rating, which is the kind of rating system that is used for universities globally. Colorado State University was the first institution in the world to achieve STARS Platinum rating and has achieved it every year and is one of the top doctoral institutions in the world for sustainability. And this spans not just curriculum, but research, community engagement, sustainable operations, and more. So it's sustainable finance. It really encompasses a lot. So CSU has been leading the way for a long time and continues to develop leaders who care about the impact of their work and of their business. The CSU College of Business also has been a leader in sustainability for quite a long time. The College of Business has a Business for a Better World goal, and that again is aligning our curriculum, our research, our community engagement in this realm, or in the way that we want to have better positive social and environmental impacts. So sustainability is baked in. As an example, we're one of the few institutions or College of Businesses that have a required sustainability class for all undergraduates. We have a lot of faculty focusing on sustainable research and a number of other great initiatives. We're also a top institution for impact as rated by our students. We participate in the positive impact rating every year and are going to be, we participated first time last year, and the students actually assess us on a number of dimensions. And so it's risky, but it all turned out well. And the students, they themselves feel that the College of Business walks the walk or talks the talk. I don't know what the saying is in terms of sustainability and social impact. So, but as many institutions go, businesses, educational institutions, we still have a long way to go. I also work for the Impact MBA. Impact MBA, we're in our 16th cohort now, and we prepare students to be leaders in organizations that integrate economic, social, and environmental sustainability initiatives into their core strategy and operations. As part of that, we have a corporate sustainability fellowship program where we place our MBA students in businesses around Colorado to implement sustainability initiatives. And yeah, so we're helping people every day learn how to think about social, environmental, and governance strategy in business. So today I want to talk a little bit about the call to action for ESG, progress in local businesses and businesses globally. Why I want to talk about why do businesses care about ESG and what does it mean? Incoming regulations and other trends, and then a few strategies and steps for your impact journey. Every business is different, but there's some kind of general steps and frameworks to, I guess, orient around. And then I do want to talk just a little bit about our corporate sustainability fellowship program. So here's our call to action. The data is definitive. We are facing increased extreme weather events. We are feeling the devastating effects of global temperature rise in ecosystems and human systems. We are living through the 6th great extinction of life on our beautiful planet. The people most vulnerable to loss of life, loss of freshwater systems, most vulnerable to starvation are those with the fewest resources. Now, the time to act is shrinking, but it's definitely not too late. And we believe that we have an ethical, moral, and educational imperative to act decisively, and to change the systems we contribute to. And there's no denying the fact that that nearly all greenhouse gas emissions and biodiversity loss can be attributed to business through extraction, processing, transportation, sales, product and services, and product end of life. A long time ago, I remember reading Paul Hawkins, probably The Ecology of Commerce, one of his books, and he said, business is the problem, but we're also the solution. We are the way out. I like this IPCC image that talks about how climate change will have or is having impacts on health and well-being, on cities, on water scarcity and food production, ecosystems. And when we think about, these are the things that make up life. These are the things that make up our businesses. So we do need to start acting decisively to curb the impacts and, turn around the impacts that business is having on our ecosystem and on our climate. So ESG, what does it mean and why do businesses care? For a long time, I'm sure if you went to business school or if you've been in any kind of business class, folks talked about the stockholder obligation, that businesses have a responsibility to maximize profit. And that's just kind of bottom line thinking. That's, business as is. We are in business to grow, to make more money, to get more share of the market. In the early 1990s, I think 1994, the term triple bottom line was coined. And this expanded the kind of the purpose of business from stockholder obligation to shareholder or to stakeholder obligation. And stakeholders could be your community, they could be people in your supply chain, they could be your workers, they could be the climate or the freshwater systems you depend on. And the triple bottom line was the 3 Ps: people, planet, and profit. And so sustainable businesses, financially sustainable, environmentally sustainable, social sustainable businesses will consider all 3. Now, the ESG is kind of the more popular term in industry now. ESG came from the finance realm, and I'm sure y'all have read news stories about ESG investing, but you probably have seen that folks working in the sustainability realm now are no longer like head of sustainability, they're head of ESG. And this is a recognition that sustainability is not just environmental sustainability, that we can't have true sustainability if we're not thinking about our impacts on people in our supply chain, if we're not thinking about workers and their well-being, if we're not thinking about justice in our work. So ESG is kind of this recognition that sustainability is something bigger than just recycling, that it encompasses many different dimensions. So environmental is the E. That's things like looking at our waste and our pollution, thinking about resource depletion, greenhouse gas emissions or carbon emissions, looking at climate change and deforestation. I think we're probably all pretty familiar with what would fit under environmental sustainability. The S stands for social. And so this is things like your employee relations, diversity in your firm, working conditions, local communities, health and safety. Are you sourcing things from conflict areas? So we're really thinking about the social human dimension of the business. And then the G stands for governance. This is things like, what is our tax strategy? How does the business take part in lobbying or donations? What are our policies about things like corruption and bribery? What is our business looking at in terms of our board diversity and structure? So this could be everything from how the business, the legal entity of the business, to the actual rules and regulations that the business kind of adheres to. Now, in sustainability reporting in general, many businesses are making a lot of progress in the environmental and the governance realm, and the social realm is kind of the less paid attention to realm of ESG, which is interesting to me. And one of the many reasons why that is it's a little tougher to measure in a standardized way and report on some of the social initiatives. Now, that's not the case for everything, but that is one of the reasons why social has, I guess, gained less reporting and traction. But I think that will change pretty soon. So that is what ESG means. If you've been hearing it in the news and you're like, what the heck is ESG? It's environmental, governance, and social, the all-encompassing view of sustainability. So businesses are really paying attention to sustainability in a way that they never have before, or that they didn't en masse before. 90% of major US companies published a sustainability report in 2019. That's up from 20% in 2011. So for those of you who've been in this realm for a while, that's a dramatic increase in public companies publishing sustainability reports. And sustainability reports generally aren't just like a whole bunch of storytelling, although they do encompass or have that. But sustainability reports are really, how are we measuring and making progress on a number of these ESG initiatives? So this is very exciting. For many of the world's largest companies, sustainability is now seen as key to minimizing risk, increasing resilience, enhancing competitiveness, and unlocking opportunities. That's from Joel Mackauer in the State of Green Business 2021. Businesses with authentic ESG commitments are more resilient. They're subject to reduced legal and supply chain risks. They have higher employee retention and benefit from favorable market perceptions. And increasingly, a company's sustainability profile is being baked into its stock price and creditworthiness. And so a company thinking about its ESG policies and progress may affect the cost of capital that it needs for growth. A lot of the change that is happening is coming from investors. And it's not just coming from the government. And so any business should, be starting to think about, okay, if I need to attract capital, how am I going to, demonstrate that I'm making progress in these realms? So even for smaller companies, this is relevant. We work with a lot of small businesses. And a lot of small businesses are attracted to sustainable initiatives because it is a money saver. You can save money, you can reduce inefficiencies, you can use it for strategic positioning, attracting capital, and attracting talent. This is from a McKinsey & Company report, but there have been shifts in the past decade around how ESG programs contribute to financial performance. The main one still is that it helps a company maintain corporate reputation and brand equity. And then next in line is attracting, motivating, and/or retaining talented employees. Now, you can see in this chart that the percent of companies that are saying that that's a top way that ESG programs improve financial performance, it's decreasing. It's decreased from 2009 to 2019, but they're still the top two categories in terms of why a company thinks that they should, or why a company, or how a company perceives ESG programs effect on financial performance. But you can see some of the changes that are happening is folks are seeing that it strengthens the organization's competitive position, that it meets society's expectations for good corporate behavior, and more. I'll skip that one. As I said, the second highest item in that list was attracting and retaining talent. So I wanted to talk to that a little bit. Climate and impact is really important to Gen Z. 67% of Gen Z says that climate should be a top priority to ensure a sustainable planet for generations. In 2021, the American Psychology Association reported that climate anxiety or eco-anxiety is especially high among younger adults, and nearly half identify it as a source of stress. 69% of US adults in that same 2021 Pew Research Center survey as above responded that large businesses and corporations are doing too little to reduce the effects of global climate change, and are the top entity doing too little. So I thought it was interesting. They had people say who is kind of responsible for taking action and who is doing too little. And I kind of expected it to be the government, the individual energy industry, but businesses and corporations were the top group that 69% of US adults said we're doing too little to reduce the effects of global climate change. So society is expecting us to take action. Related to, this should say 2021, not 2011, that's a typo. Related to priority for new talent, 59% of employees leaving their jobs are leaving to join an organization more aligned with their values. That was a World Economic Forum report from last year, and they asked why people were leaving, and leaving an organization more aligned with their values was ranked much higher than leaving a company that's more aligned with their lifestyle. and leaving a company for a company that provides better compensation and better career advancement. So lately, there's been a whole lot of talk about, we need to provide more flexible working conditions. We need to provide better benefits. This is what talent is demanding. And that is true, and we should do those things. But World Economic Forum found that actually the majority of employees are leaving to go to companies that are more aligned with their values and making a difference in their community, caring about climate change and stuff like that. 71% of employees and employment seekers surveyed said that environmentally sustainable companies are more attractive employers. That's from an IBM survey last year. More than 2/3 of the full potential workforce respondents are more likely to apply for and accept jobs with environmentally and socially responsible organizations, and nearly half surveyed would accept a lower salary to work for such organizations. That's also from the World Economic Forum report. I always hesitate to believe that people will accept lower pay for something. We are aspirational in our thoughts, but not always in our actions. But this is saying that people are reporting that they would take lower pay to work for an organization that has a better sustainability or social impact. Okay, here we are. I want to talk a little bit about incoming regulations and other trends, because this is really on my radar. And I know on a lot of the radars of folks in larger companies, but these impacts are going to trickle down to local businesses as well. So there are a number of regulations that are going to be impacting business sustainability, mainly through the reporting realm. Sorry, hold on a second. And this is just a few of the items or the regulations on the list. You may have heard in the news about the SEC climate disclosure rules, and I'll cover that on the next slide. But there's also international reporting standards that are being developed and heard. The European Financial Reporting Advisory Group and the International Financial Reporting Standards. All three of these regulations or governing groups are trying to do a similar thing, which is to provide accountability, standardization, and improvement upon company sustainability reporting. They all have similar types of requirements for businesses to report Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 emissions and evaluate their climate-related financial risks and opportunities. All three of these proposals are anchored on a common set of carbon accounting standards, which is the Greenhouse Gas Protocol and the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. All three of these on the screen have different jurisdictional scopes. But I bring these up because if you get you source something from a company or provide a part to a company that has international reach, it is possible that they are going to be subject to some of the international standards. So I'm going to focus on the SEC rules since they're close to home. And have the highest likelihood to impact us in the short-ish term at the local level. On March 21st, 2022, the SEC issued a proposed rule and has been gathering input on something that would enhance and standardize climate-related disclosures provided by public companies. And the SEC chair, Gary Gensler, said that they care because, this is a quote, "Today, investors representing literally tens of trillions of dollars support climate-related disclosures because they recognize that climate risks can pose significant financial risks to companies, and investors need reliable information about climate risk to make informed investment decisions." So right now, a lot of companies are reporting on their ESG performance and initiatives, but there's a lack of standardization in what they're reporting on and how they're reporting on it. There's a lack of transparency in some instances, and accountability. And so this rule is attempting to provide some of that, like, standardization and improvement upon actual reporting. So this proposal includes disclosures for finance statements. This is things like what expenditures is your company, what expenditures does your company have related to climate risk mitigation? How severe weather events and other, climate change conditions are affecting estimates and assumptions in financial statements. What impact do extreme climate related events have on financial statement line items? What people report in those finance statements are subject to financial statement audit requirements. It's also requiring businesses to disclose on scope 1 and 2 emissions, GHG emissions, and scope 3 for some companies. Now, the Wall Street Journal said just a couple days ago that they're reconsidering this requirement. So there's a, to be determined on the scope 3. For those of you who aren't familiar with GHG scopes, scope 1 is direct emissions. This is stuff like energy and heat generation at company facilities, company vehicles. These are basically emissions as a result of things you own. Scope 2 emissions are purchased electricity, steam, heating, and cooling. And then scope 3 emissions are more indirect emissions. Business travel, impacts in your supply chain, like how are your products shipped, end of life for product, use of product. So scope 1 and scope 2 are pretty easy for businesses to measure. Scope 3 emissions get a little fuzzier and more difficult to measure. Most companies who've been reporting on sustainability, they have been reporting on scope 1 and scope 2 for a good long while. And right now they're really trying to figure out, how do we actually look at calculating impacts throughout our value chain or our supply chain, both upstream and downstream. So it's where a lot of the work is happening. But companies will be required to report on at least scope 1 and scope 2, and likely in some ways on scope 3. Now, why should you care? If everybody has to, or if all the public companies have to report on their scope 3, you're probably part of their scope 3. Unless you're completely, you produce, well, it would be really hard to imagine a business that isn't someone else's scope 3. And so, we know a lot. We've worked with a number of small businesses who have started sustainability reporting because they're required to by someone they sell to, like Walmart or REI. Or, you're providing a business to business products to someone, and they have to account for what's happening in your operations. So I would say this doesn't just impact public companies, it's coming to all businesses because we're all part of someone's scope 3, almost. There's also quantitative disclosures in this SEC proposal, climate plans, targets, goals, what processes are you using related to sustainability, and then governance disclosures, what are your risk management processes, etc. So there's a lot in that, but these disclosure rules are going to impact all areas of business. This is operations, this is finance and accounting, strategy. Really, we're looking at impacts or at least, positive incentives to report and make progress on things in basically all areas of business. So I wanted to talk a little bit about ESG in your business. And as I mentioned at the beginning, every business is very different. And so someone, doing metal work versus someone producing granola, your business looks very different. And so I'm going to make some broad suggestions of things to think about as you continue or start your impact and ESG journey. The first step is really to determine your scope. And the following list comes from Impact MBA alumna who worked for Brendel Group, a great local business. So these are some questions inspired by her work. One of the things that we recommend people do is look at what's already working in your business. What can you leverage? Do you have initiatives that have really taken off? And can you implement some other initiatives that kind of leverage those same processes or that same energy? A lot of times people look at where's the biggest gap, but that's not always the best way to go. Sometimes it's best to look at what are our competencies and what's already working for us, and how can we build upon that? So that's the first question that I encourage you to think about is, in the realm of ESG, what's already working at your business? And yeah, like I said, what kind of processes or momentum can you leverage to grow that impact and those successes? I think another important question is, what can we influence? We have worked with a number of businesses with our corporate sustainability fellowship program that really want to make progress on some environmental issues, but they rent their space. And so that limits their ability to do a number of initiatives that they want. They can always go for it, but it limits their ability to do it in the short term. So another just good question is, what do we actually have influence over? And that's a good place to start. I heard the head of sustainability at Allbirds speak about a year ago. And, Allbirds is one of these companies that I really admire for their sustainability strategy. And Hannah said, when developing a sustainability strategy, we must follow the impact. And that's how they went about it. She really looked at, okay, our majority of our impact is in production is in the materials that go into our shoes. And so we're going to focus as hard as we can for a couple of years on material inputs in our shoes and, really work to reduce the impacts there. Once they had developed basically one of the most sustainable shoes out there, and I think they open sourced they made it available, their processes or technology available to any company to use. They then focused on another area, which was their supply chain, shipping and packaging. But that's how they prioritized, is they said, okay, where's the majority of our impact? For many companies, your scope 3, for most companies, your scope 3 represents the majority of your impact. And so this might mean that you might decide to look at the materials that go into your product or service, that you look at transportation, that you look at the end of life for your product. After scope 3, for many businesses, the next area of impact is in energy use, things like heating and cooling, electricity use, and then transportation. Again, this will really vary by company, but those are some of the high impact areas for a company. The next question in determining scope is, where do we want to go? What do we want to be? Where do we want to, position ourselves? What kind of impact do we want to have? A big question is, what presents areas of risk to our business. This may be governance, this might be social and talent, talent retention. This may be environmental, like we only source from our products, our inputs from one area of the world that are having increased climate events. What can we do about that? And then the last question is, what do stakeholders care about? What do our employees care about? What do our customers care about? And can that help us determine scope? The next step is to determine a baseline. There are professional assessments available for free through Colorado Department of Public Health and the Environment. You can search the Colorado Green Business Program Assistance on Google, and they will come and do a baseline sustainability assessment in businesses. I think it mentioned in my intro, we are a subgrantee to CDPHE in their pollution prevention program. But a lot of the businesses that our students have worked with have gotten these pollution prevention assessments done and found them very helpful. That's a really good way to have someone who knows what they're talking about walk through your business and kind of identify what can be improved. Even though I live and breathe this every day, when the College of Business started looking at our operational sustainability, I called someone in to do a walkthrough with me to point out, like, here's an area of inefficiency. Here's an opportunity for a low-cost upgrade that will save a lot of money. I think because we live in our places of work, we don't see it as clear of eyes. So I really recommend getting someone in to help set a baseline. And CDPHE is one of those organizations that will do it. I know we have local resources as well. So yeah, a good Google search is helpful in this. B-Lab assessments also are something that a lot of our companies that we work with use because it helps paint a bigger picture of your ESG, kind of where you stand in your ESG progress. So they look at governance, workers, community, environment, and customers. And B-Lab assessments are used by more than 150,000 businesses nationwide, I believe. But it's a good baseline to see where you stand on a number of those areas. The next step is to prioritize. McKinsey & Company did a report where they said companies with a unified strategy and no more than 5 strategic sustainability priorities were almost 3 times as likely to be among the strongest performers, both financially and on measures of sustainability. So I am a person who wants to do all of the things and make progress on all of the things. But I think this McKinsey & Company report points out something that we all probably inherently know, and it's that we need to identify our strategic priorities and really put efforts into making substantial progress on just a few things rather than a tiny bit of progress on 800 things. In that same report, they looked at a chemical company and how they worked on prioritizing. They surveyed their stakeholders to see what was most important to their stakeholders. And then they also surveyed internally to see what was most important to internal stakeholders. And that could be energy consumption and efficiency, occupational health and safety, there's a climate change and global warming. And they put those 2 ratings of external stakeholders and internal stakeholders together to identify what both groups ranked as extremely high in terms of importance. And that's how they identified their top 5. But there's a whole number of ways to, you'd have to determine, is it payback period? Is it, short-term impact? Is it importance to stakeholders? But figure out how you want to prioritize and actually prioritize. I think second to last recommendation is to identify champions and owners. We had a student who was she's an accountant and worked for a local solar company for her fellowship. And she talked a lot about tone from the top. That's something that she learned in her accounting professional work. That the leaders of an organization really have the ability to influence, what is happening in that organization. And so if the leaders at the top set in motion and actually live out impact related values, that it can have a really big impact on the success of strategic initiatives. Most, recommendations for ESG strategy also recommend developing a green team or an ESG team so that you have levels of ownership all throughout the organization. We have a green team here at the College of Business, and we have a representative from kind of each functional area, so that the folks on the ESG team really do have the ability to influence change. And then, of course, accountability for those champions and owners is of great importance. McKinsey & Company did an analysis of transformation actions that are closely tied with successful organizational change. And all three of the transformation actions that were most clearly linked with the success of an organizational change initiative had to do with leadership. Leadership openly communicating about transformation's progress and successes, senior management teams openly communicating about the implications of the initiatives for folks' day-to-day work, and leaders using a consistent change story to align the organization around transformation goals. So that tone at the top and communication at the top is very tied to the success of a change initiative, which in my opinion, most ESG initiatives are organizational change initiatives. And then the last is measuring and managing. There's easy way to set internal metrics and accountability. For our green team, we're looking at our energy score, energy use per square foot, and have a number of other internal measures that we're looking at and reporting on. And so it is, for some businesses, it could be as simple as like, let's take a baseline of our water use and try to reduce it over a year, or our energy use and try to reduce it over a period of time. There are also a lot of external tools that will help people measure and manage. As I mentioned, B-Lab, the Colorado Green Business Program through CDPHE. There are many, many industry-specific tools. So that measuring and management, or what they say, you can't manage what you don't measure. No, wait, yes. So we have to, I think, we have to hold ourselves accountable and measure against progress, or hold ourselves accountable and then measure our progress. In the last few minutes, I wanted to talk about the Impact MBA Corporate Sustainability Fellowship Program. If all of this stuff that we've just covered feels like a lot, we do have the Impact MBA Corporate Sustainability Fellowship Program, and they can help local businesses get started on the sustainability journey. So as I said, we're in our 16th cohort with the Impact MBA. It was launched in 2007 and has historically had 2 tracks in social enterprise and corporate sustainability. We're also launching a dual degree in Impact MBA Masters in Finance. So there's a lot of stuff happening with ESG finance and like sustainability accounting. And so we're really prepared to launch the next generation of finance and accounting professionals kind of in the impact realm. Impact MBA is ranked number 5 nationwide and number 20 globally by Corporate Knights for their Better World MBA programs. Corporate Knights is one of the big ranking organizations for MBAs. We have won a number of awards for our sustainability education and curriculum, including the MBA Roundtable Innovator Award and the Wharton QS Reimagine Education Sustainability Education Award. We have interdisciplinary MBA. Students come from a variety of undergraduate degrees and work experiences. So we have students who have backgrounds in mechanical engineering, accounting, communications, basically runs the gamut. So if you have a sustainability project that requires a specific skill set, there's a likelihood that we have a student with a background in that, plus the MBA education that they'll have had a year of education by the time they get to their fellowships. We have about 40 students per cohort, and we have a high female to male ratio for MBA programs, and about a third international students. I just have a slide because I just want to say that the Impact MBA has a integrated sustainability curriculum, and that it's integrated into every course. Many programs out there have like one sustainability class and then the regular MBA, but our students are being equipped with kind of a comprehensive ESG education in addition to or as a part of their MBA curriculum. In the corporate sustainability track, students are also often getting carbon management certificates, which equips them to look at life cycle analysis, calculate and report on scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. And all of those students do a summer fellowship with a host organization. As I said, if you're kind of thinking about how do I get started on my sustainability journey, these students do a 400-hour fellowship, and they do project-based work. So this doesn't mean they're just like filling in for someone at the front desk. What we really want them to do is be working on specific projects that will live on past them being there, or maybe you'll hire them and they'll be there to continue it on. But we place students in the summer of 2023. We have a lot of potential applications. Students have worked on everything from pollution prevention, supply chain practices, ESG disclosures, like product waste in manufacturing. So there's a ton of different applications. We love this program, and companies are very happy with it. We surveyed companies that we've worked with the last year on a number of measures, and just overall, how satisfied were you with the fellowship or the fellow that you worked with on a scale of 1 to 10? The companies said were rated a 9.6. So companies are very satisfied. We have highly skilled MBA students, and a lot of companies participate because it helps them expand their sustainability initiatives and access a highly skilled workforce. We do ask, as I said, that companies provide academically rigorous project-based work. Our students are compensated by the companies at a minimum of $20 an hour. We do have a small fund available for like startups, small local businesses, and nonprofits. And so occasionally we can internally support a fellowship. So if you have a really great initiative that you're looking at, but don't know if you can pay, still feel free to contact us. And we do ask for an assigned supervisor in the workspace. Yeah, so we're accepting applications through February 20th, and students would start in late May. If you have any questions, csubiz.com/fellowship is our link. And yeah, thank you for having me and for your interest in sustainable businesses and ESG impacts in our local community.
Marvelous, Grace. That's such great information and so helpful. I did have a few questions, if that's all right, and maybe others do as well. So I wondered about that article that you said, so are they going to put it on pause? Do you feel like this is going to become a very big thing? I mean, you are really training students and sort of develop this ecosystem. So I imagine you think this will be the future for business, right?
I mean, either way, businesses are already doing it. Like I said, 90% of large companies are already reporting on their sustainability initiatives. So this is happening with or without the SEC. And many public companies also have international reach. And so, like I said, those are only a few of the, regular, I guess, kind of few of the initiatives that were happening internationally, but either it's going to come internationally and come back to the United States, or we're going to do it ourselves. I expect, based off of what I've read, the SEC is going to continue forward with this. Just will the Scope 3 reporting requirements as originally envisioned? I don't know. And this, again, it was just a couple days ago that the Wall Street Journal reported that, and it was, I think, a little bit of hearsay too. So, like I said, we know that this is the future of business. I mean, the reality is businesses are being impacted by extreme climate events, by disruptions in their supply chain, by having to think about governance initiatives and responsible business leadership. If it doesn't come from the regulatory realm, it's certainly coming from the investment realm. So if this isn't a flash in the pan thing anymore. This is here to stay.
Well, I was going to add, I think, and from the employee, right? I mean, employees are asking those questions and wants.
Yes.
When you say, what is our culture? That's what they want to hear about, right? How does that tie together? So I just had one last question, which is, as this becomes, the SEC requires this, right? They're kind of in the rule thinking and making at this point. Are there dollars available? I mean, you have to hire more employees, or you have to pay for consultants or something in this space. So is it a tax break if you participate in this, or is it just here we are now and businesses just figure it out?
To my understanding, it's just a regulatory requirement. It's an expectation that everybody does it. Now there are incentives on a state level for many different improvements, and you think about incentives by energy companies, and there's government legislation, of course, that's going to be supporting sustainability improvements both on a residential and a commercial level. And so I think the SEC, my understanding, it's a rule, but there's a whole ecosystem of support out there. As far as hiring more people, I'm not quite so sure, but we have things like, the EPA does fund the CDPHE pollution prevention program, which gives free baseline assessments and, pollution prevention style help to companies. So, yeah.
Yeah.
A long answer.
No, I get that.
Kind of.
I think you're right. I think more will grow, and a great response to all that you've talked about today. And that's why we have Shelley Polansky here from the Better Business Bureau, because they actually have recognized a support role they can play with business. And so we now have Shelley Polansky from the Better Business Bureau on Showing Your Impact BBB4Good. So we're so interested to learn more about that, Shelley. So appreciate that you're here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks Yvonne in the Fort Collins Chamber, and thank you, Grace, for your presentation. It actually segues into mine really nicely. And what I'm here to talk about today is our new BBB4Good program, which is a pilot program. We're just in the early stages of soft launching this for the communities that we serve. And it really is focusing on the aspects of Grace's presentation on assessment and accountability, and how do you measure and hold yourself accountable to your stakeholders that you are doing what you say you're doing. So to start off, I'm Shelley Polansky. I am the president and the CEO of the Better Business Bureau that serves the northern half of the state of Colorado and almost the entire state of Wyoming. We're supported by about 4,100 businesses that have agreed to uphold our 8 standards for trust and are considered our accredited businesses. We also have nearly a little over 100 accredited charities that also agree to uphold their business practices throughout their nonprofits against our 20 standards of charitable accountability. And really, I'm here to talk about our new, like I said, our new BBB4Good program. The BBB brand for more than 100 years has been helping people find and recommend businesses, brands, and charities that you can trust. But we also have observed that there is a evolving consumer out there that really is paying attention to organizations that have a purpose-driven mission in addition to their profit-making strategies. I have a few slides on just some statistics that I think complement Grace's presentation. But according to recent research by the IBM Institute for Business Value, purpose-driven consumers outnumber all other types of consumers. So 44% of consumers look at purpose-driven organizations when they are making those purchasing decisions, followed by value-driven at 37%, brand-driven at 15%, and then product-driven at 4%. In addition, according to Porter Novelli's Purpose Perception Study, 71% of consumers would purchase from a purpose-driven company when the cost and value are equal. 78% are more likely to remember a company with a strong purpose. 66% would consider a company's purpose when making purchasing decisions. And then lastly, 62% believe a company's purpose is an important factor when making a quick or impulse purchase. And I guess the last couple of slides with these stats, talk about how consumers' purchasing behavior has evolved, and to complement Grace's statistics around talent acquisition, purpose is definitely in this space. And to complement some of her stats that she shared, Glassdoor also had a study a couple of years ago that said 79% of adults would consider a company's mission and purpose before applying for a job there. And that 77% would also look at the company's culture. So what is the BBB4Good program? Grace talked about a couple of the assessment programs that are available, one through the state, and then also the B-Lab assessment. Ours is similar, but I think is a really great place for small businesses in Northern Colorado to turn to also have a local certification or assess a baseline of where your organization's at if you're in this space. So what the BBB4Good program is, it's a pilot program. We are one of 7 Better Business Bureaus in North America that are currently piloting this initiative with the business and nonprofit communities that we serve. And it is a certification program for businesses, and we also do include nonprofits if they qualify, that are creating purpose and profit. And it also then enables consumers, when they are searching for trustworthy businesses on bbb.org, to also filter down to purpose-driven businesses. We receive about 250 million visits to bbb.org every year. So it's a great platform for businesses to be on if they are BBB4Good certified, and again, to help people find you as they are searching for those trustworthy companies. So how it works is we have a series of questions through an online application process, and actually through the pilot phase, we actually have a team of staff members at our BBB that actually will come to your business and walk you through these application questions and help you understand them further, rather than just relying on the online application form. But it's really looking at how your organization meets our certification under 3 areas of impact. And it includes higher purpose, authentic marketing, and impact substantiation. Right now, you do have to be a BBB accredited business or nonprofit to go through the certification process. We believe that our 8 standards for trust that make up our BBB accreditation are the foundation of being a good company, and would have to be a requirement before you do apply to be BBB4Good certified. So basically you apply and then our team vets your organization against our standards around these 3 areas of impact. If your organization is approved, then we automatically update your online BBB business profile with your impact statements. We upload photos and videos of the good work that you're doing. And then you're also able to license the use of our BBB4Good trust mark to use in your own marketing with your customers. customers. Lastly, we do upload or include your information on a list of BBB4Good certified businesses. So when we're promoting, your company to consumers who are coming to our site to filter down to find purpose-driven businesses, you'll be included in that search algorithm. The BBB4Good standards, like I said, really look at these three areas. So we have a series of questions under these three categories. So first is the higher purpose. So we're looking at how businesses create accountability and transparency throughout their organization while showing intent, strategy, and reasoning and supporting a higher social or environmental purpose. Then we looked at authentic marketing. And I think there's one thing to note here. BBB was founded more than 100 years ago based on a need for an organization to really vet advertisements and marketing in the marketplace. We had a lot of businesses back then that were misusing marketing tactics and weren't really doing what they said they were doing. And that's one of our goals in this space is to, with our BBB4Good certification, is to eliminate businesses that are really just using marketing tactics to make the public think that they're doing something good when in fact they aren't. So all the more reason for businesses to be validated by a third party, such as the BBB or some of the other organizations that Grace mentioned. And then lastly, we look at impact substantiation. So we're looking at how the organization invests their time, talent, and treasures toward the furthering of their company's purpose and social good efforts, and really verifying the work that they're doing and saying that they're doing that. So why is BBB in this space? First of all, I think it's the recognition that there is that evolving consumer. And as Grace has pointed out, this is the way of the future, I think, for businesses. So how can we help businesses get on board with this now and partner with organizations such as CSU and others out there that are helping businesses actually create a business model? And I'd say number one, we're in this space because we have built a foundation of more than 100 years of marketplace advocacy or marketplace trust advocacy, and really want to help consumers decipher who really is in this space and who's not. And again, kind of eliminating that cause marketing. And then also we have the experience in the online platform. So we have been evaluating businesses against and nonprofits against a set of standards for over 100 years. So we're already in this space with the BBB4Good program. It is the creation of this new certification criteria. And then also, as I mentioned before, we're in a space where we're already receiving a significant amount of online traffic. So we can automatically help consumers choose trustworthy, purpose-driven businesses and nonprofits. And then lastly, we are, the BBB brand is made up of more than 100 local BBBs across all of North America, including Canada and Mexico, and then obviously United States. So we have a network of local presence, and we understand the significant issues that are facing the marketplace, and feel that this program is one of those that is addressing that need for validation of purpose-driven organizations and helping consumers find them. So some of the benefits of BBB4Good certification, number one is gaining new customers and supporters. Number two is just that third-party validation. I think that's extremely important for businesses and nonprofits operating in this space. Number three, differentiate your business in the marketplace. Obviously celebrating with other businesses and nonprofits in our community that are committing to a higher purpose. And so you're in good company with us. I think in the future we'll have, think tanks and thought leadership groups, events at our office, and inviting businesses and nonprofits in just to talk about how they're furthering their causes. Obviously getting on our list and helping consumers find you when they go to bbb.org. And then lastly, that display of the trust mark. So before I turn it over to any questions, again, this is in our soft launch, very soft launch. So we're really relying on grassroots efforts at this time, and inviting the business and nonprofit community that have an interest in incorporating purpose into your profit-making strategies to help us make this program better better and help us make it better for you and for people in our community. So invite you, if you are interested in learning more, to please contact us after, because we'd really like to receive your feedback. Again, we're in the soft launch, so we're fine tuning our criteria and fine tuning some of the marketing pieces. So we want to make this work for you. But I do have a video. I hope it plays with the audio. It's very short. It's about a minute long. And this is from one of the first BBB4Good certified businesses in North America, located out of Florida. Many of you are familiar with 4Ocean, and it's just a short little video talking about their purpose and how they have utilized the BBB4Good program with their company.
My name is Alex Schultz, and I'm the co-founder of 4Ocean, the ocean cleanup company. So 4Ocean is an ocean cleanup company where we sell products online in retail surf shops and gift shops. And for every single product sold, we remove 1 pound of trash from the ocean. I think the motivation for 4Ocean was really trying to see a problem and try and find a solution. Seeing the amount of plastic that's in the ocean, especially in Bali and on the coastlines, was a big trigger for us to realize, how can we find a way to create a sustainable business model that could fund our cleanups and employ captains and crews around the world to clean plastic from the ocean? For a business like ours that's involved in impact and the ocean cleanup space, transparency and credibility is incredibly important. So it's very important to us to be able to have this database of our information to maintain that level of credibility with our customers, so that for every product sold, we're removing a pound of trash from the ocean. And that's why the Better Business Bureau has helped us to give that clarity to our customers, to guarantee that we are doing what we're promising we're doing. I'm Alex. I'm Robin. And we're with 4Ocean. And we're a BBB business.
Right. So I did want to comment one thing. Grace had pointed out one of the assessments that are available is the B-Lab assessment. Throughout this pilot program, the BBB at the national office has been in early conversations with B-Lab. We don't really see this as a competition to their assessment. And in fact, B-Labs has told us what they really like about the BBB4Good certification is that we very much focusing on the marketing aspect and looking at advertisements and ensuring that the business is really following through with their promises that they're making through their advertising. And also they were very complimentary of our program, that it really is a stepping stone to their assessment and meeting their certification. So it really is designed, again, not to be in competition with them, but to really be focused on small businesses and small nonprofits that truly can achieve this, even though they may only have a handful of employees. It's totally achievable. So again, if you're interested in learning more, please contact me directly and being part of our pilot initiative and helping us get this off the ground for those in Northern Colorado and Wyoming. Any questions?
I didn't have a question, but I truly did see that sort of like starting with you all and then moving toward the B-Lab and these bigger assessments. And that it's wonderful that you're doing this, Shelley, because I think it's that first, it's a little less painful to get going. Do you know what I mean? To kind of look at what you're doing. And I wanted to share an interesting story. When I was still at Columbine Health Systems, we actually produced an ad with a picture of one of our residents who is 92 years old, resident at Columbine. And we had the magazine company call us and say, we don't like this photo. She looks wrinkled and old. We'd rather you use this photo, which is of somebody who is 50. And I was like, well, but that's a lie. And that isn't true. And these are our residents. And I threatened to pull the ad. And so I ended up writing an article about it, because it's false advertising to show geriatric people being 50 riding their bikes.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity in this space, especially like you said, around that marketing and that purpose driven. So that's very, very exciting. So does anybody else have any questions or comments? Yay. All right, so I wanted to put up my screen a little bit here. So can you see my screen? Yes, no,
Not yet.
not yet. All right, escape. All right. Well, I'll let it go. I'm fine to do that. We this has been a really, really great topic and such timely, great information. So I was thinking of all the different ways we can put this on our YouTube channel and other places to get this information out to business. So really appreciate your time, Grace and Shelley, to put your PowerPoints together and to join us today for this talent series. We have about 4 more sessions coming up for the next few weeks. So our next one is reach and exceed your sales goals, use prosperity personality recognition on how to improve your sales goals. So sort of a different focus than ESG, but a very important one for business as well. So again, thank you to iHeartMedia for their sponsorship of our talent series. Thank you again to Grace Wright from Colorado State University and Shelley Polansky from the Better Business Bureau here in Northern Colorado. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.